So now subframe is back in as it did last weekend. Now I can do the brakes. I'm going to clean them up, sort them all out and refit them. I'll take the front calipers off as well, clean them all up and then put everything back together. So one of the first things, I'm going to clean up all the brake parts. So I got these caliper carriers, rear and front. I'm going to degrease them with some kitchen degreaser, hot water, brush, degrease them, clean them up, and then carry on. Now parts been washed, so I'm just going to give them a bit of wire brushing to get any hard sediments off. Now, caliper carriers have all been cleaned up and wire brushed. They're in good condition, really good condition. I could just put them on like this. Now this other step might be slightly unnecessary. I'm going to try to de-rust them, remove all the rust. So this is the product I never used before, heard about it. Super safe rust remover, vapor rust, biodegradable formula, powerful, non-scrubbing, reusable. So I've got this old bucket. It's always good to have a good old bucket. Now I'm not going to pour a whole bucket full in because I don't want to be wasteful. So what I'm going to try to do is, with a brush, soak it all up, and every now and again come back and just either flip them or brush them on a bit more whilst I'm doing the other stuff, and then we'll see. I mean, they're saying for like a really heavy rust, you just soak them in parts, submerge them into the vapor rust for up to 24 hours, and apparently they come like brand new, completely clean. I'm gonna clean up the calipers themselves. So I'm going to first run a bit of wire brush on them. Obviously made of aluminium, so it's not going to rust. Now, one thing, if you didn't notice, this bolt here, that's where the brake line goes in. I think it's 10mm, but it's slightly wrong thread, so I'm just tightening, look, just with 2 fingers, just getting in to stop any dust and crap going into the hole, because you don't want any of this dust to go into the caliper. Don't use any spanners or impact drivers or anything, you will ruin it. So one cleaned, other one to be cleaned. Now rear calipers have been cleaned, so I'm going to sort out the front ones. So I left this one on hanging with a brake pad on place because it's been connected with a wire. I'm just going to take that wire off. So with a little screwdriver, just going to pray and push that little connector off the caliper. I hope it's not gonna break the plastic. Get this cap off. There you go. Right. Front calipers have these little washers. Now the right hand side, driver's side brakes, they don't have a wire that shows or sends a signal when the brake pads are low, so don't have to disconnect that. I'm just looking at the this caliper. I think I might be able to actually clean it up all right as well, so I'm gonna do the same thing, secure it, and then 11mm spanner. I'm not securing it right. Let's try. It'll be much easier if he's inside or if he's in the cradle. The cradle is off at the moment. Yes. You have to be careful with these bolts, because these bolts for brake lines, they have obviously hole to the middle of them and then hole to the side, and they're not as strong as normal bolts. So if you go too much with it, with a force, you can snap them off. I remember years ago when I was in army, we done some maintenance on some bulldozers, and guy in command said to me, it was on I had to air up the fuel system, so I'm on a fuel pump, similar thing, similar bolt, and I released the air and everything and tightened back up, and he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, you didn't tighten it up enough, tighten it more." I said, "No, I did." And he goes, "Tighten it more." Well, in army you have to listen and do what you're told, and I tightened it probably not even quarter turn, and the bolt snapped. So don't do that. So same thing with front calipers. Just gonna clean them all up while I brush them. Now the only difference is these are iron, not aluminium. So I will sort of, well, I'll paint them up, I'll blacken them up. Got that industrial black spray paint, satin black with rust inhibitor. Just spray it with that, clean them up. Now these brake calipers on the front, same as the rear ones, they are, well, the rear ones are proper sided because of the handbrake and everything, but you can do a quick reference. The bleed valve always has to be on the top, inlet on the bottom or middle, and a bleed valve on the top. So for the front calipers, as we said, inlet is in the middle, and the bleed valve always has to stay on the top, because the front calipers are pretty much symmetrical. You could make a mistake and fit them other way around, but if you find out that the bleed valve is on the bottom, you done mistake. You have to swap them around and have a bleed valve on the top. It's one very important thing to watch out when doing brake calipers. It's because you don't want to have a bleed valve on the bottom. You can't bleed the air out. Air is lighter and the valve needs to be on the top. Pay attention to that, please, if you've never done it before. Yeah, very important thing. Now someone might say you don't have to take calipers out. I want to flush them all with new brake fluid. See how dirty that is? That's coming out of the caliper. Okay, so in this way I'm literally draining out anything that's what's left inside of the caliper out of the brake pipes, and then once I replace the other brake line, I'm going to put them all back together and then put fresh brake fluid in and bleed and flush all the way through. So again, bolt, 10mm bolt, and just nice and lightly with fingers. Don't go mad, just want to close it up so no dirt gets inside, and then you can proceed with cleaning up. Once it's been wire brushed, bit of brake cleaner, I'm gonna clean up especially these gliding rubber sockets. Right. There we go. I'm gonna clean up these brake guards as well and give them a quick coat of paint. Now next step is gonna clean up the discs. Gonna use a floppy sand disc on these edges here on outside, just to take a lip off, and then wire brush on a drill to clean up the seat where the wheel goes and where the disc goes on the hub. Once it's all cleaned up, get the sandpaper and then run over the disc surface. Don't be tempted to use floppy disc on this surface here or this surface here, because that's where the wheel sits, and if you disturb the thickness here, the wheel will get wobbly because it will not sit flat with the disc. If you grind this surface here, you will get wobbly brakes. So when you press the brakes, it will sort of like pulsate underneath and it will not brake properly. So this surface here only clean up with hand sandpaper, because that will clean the rust and score it a little bit, but will not disturb the thickness. I mean, you can see I still got all the lines from the, they're not, I can't feel them under my finger or nail, but you can actually see them. That's where there was some sort of maybe grit or dirt or something with the brake pads. You can see the brake pads as well, it's got that sort of corresponding lines. There's nothing wrong with that, it's absolutely normal on old brakes. It doesn't mean that they will fail or anything, it just means they're worn-in brakes. You put new ones in, brand new disc, brand new pads, give it a few months and it will look same. So it's nothing wrong really. As long as pads got plenty of meat on, plenty of life, and your discs are still thick enough. It says here, where is it? There it is. Minimum thickness 20.4 millimeters. That is. So you can take calipers and measure the thickness of the disc here, and that should be no less than 20.4. If it's like that, then discs are good. There you go. This disc is cleaned up. Now the other side. So now even these guards are sprayed on, it's all cleaned up. Just gonna clean this seat here. Okay, now this brake line here, brake pipe, had well, it looked like lots of corrosion, but it was more of a bit of surface corrosion and dirt. So I just cleaned it up and painted it, and it looks and feels nice and smooth. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Now fit this guard. If I can just remember how did it go. Did it go like this? Oh, it looks like it. So you got little screws, clean them up and spray them with oil. Little T, what is that? T25? T25. It's all looking good when you start putting stuff back together. Much better than stripping. So putting it back together is a good thing. I like that. Now I can't put any ratchet there or anything because really is on the way, so I'm just gonna get a little spanner that will go on this. How handy is this? Little 1/4 inch spanner, fits on the bit perfectly. Perfect for tight spaces. And obviously being 1/4 inch, you can use it with any 1/4 inch bit. Phillips, Posi, slotted, Torx, any. Works spot on. Right. Now next, move the camera. Just gonna connect this brake line. And that is again 11mm spanner. Now because brake fluid is dribbled around here, around this area, and the brake fluid is aggressive to paintwork, I'm going to wash all this with brake cleaner. So here is our bucket with brake parts that is been in this evaporust. It's been on a couple hours. The upper parts kept drying out, and every now and again I was just coming back up and just spraying it around. I think a great deal of rust is gone. It's got that like a patina on it. Some sections are gone back to shiny metal, like, I don't know if you can see that bit there. The rest of it looks almost like a black, but I don't think it's got any really rust sediment. So they say after it's been treated, rinse it off or wash it with water. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I even got these bolts. I mean, you can see these retaining wires, they've all been rusty. They're all gone pretty much to bare metal. So I reckon if I left it on submerged for another couple hours, maybe like 5, 6, 7 hours in total, the whole thing will be completely cleaned off to bare metal, which is pretty much good. And they say that don't throw away, put it in some bottle or something, and you can use it again. You can use it over and over a few times. So all in all, the evaporust, it's good, I think. I mean, it's not something like that you just spray on and watch it within a minute to clean off. It's not that powerful, but it does the job. You just have to leave it. So if you're doing something, best thing would be probably soak it up and just leave it overnight. By morning, the whole lot will be clean. It's good. So now, next step will be fit the disc. I'm just gonna put some copper grease on this hub here. I don't like when a disc sticks on to hub when rusts on. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a screw hole for this big screw, the bolt, and that will go there. So that's our screw hole here. Just gonna put some little bit of copper grease on it. Okay, so that is T50. Torx 50. Now we got our caliper carrier. So that goes back on. That is 16mm spanner. There's torque setting on it. Oh. But I don't know what it is. I just want to put it nice and tight. That's tight. That is tight. Okay. Now, get the caliper. So now look how disc brakes, little pads. Before, a long time ago, I used copper grease on pads, wherever pads rubbing. But then someone told me I shouldn't use copper grease anymore because they discovered that copper grease is bad. So I just use like a brake lubricant. So all I'm doing is just putting a bit here on this seat, making sure don't get anything on the discs. Or on the pads, keep the pads clean. I'm just refitting the old pads. They're still good, still got plenty of meat on them. There's no point of wasting and getting right, that there. Yeah, there's no point of wasting money on unnecessary things. Now, brake caliper. Let me see if I can change that. That might be better. Spring loaded. Now you got this sensor wire that can go back on. Okay. Now we got these sliding pins. Coat them up with this brake grease. Okay. 7mm Allen key. So still 7mm, it's just on the socket. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. Then got little cups. And cups go back on. Remove my temporary bolt that was closing the hole. And now I need to get my pick. I need that to pick this old copper washer. Come on. I never had copper washer seats that like that. Let's try with the blade. Yes. The old copper washer. Right, there are two washers, one on either side. So in general you should replace copper washers every time you take that connection apart. So the selection of the washers is too big. That there is correct size. So two of them. Just gonna blow compressed air through this screw, this bolt. Had a couple speckles, so clean that up. And now with new washers we can tie it back on to the caliper. Again, as I said before, firmly, but not crazy. Right, let's see what size is that. 13? No, can't be 11. It is size 11. Firmly. Caliper slides nicely. Just gonna put a little bit more brake grease on the slider, this exposed part, well, it's exposed now. That's ready. Okay. Bleed valve is ready now for, and little wire clip as well, painted, cleaned, rust free. There it is. Nice. It's looking cool. Well, let's go and do the other wheel.